Let's dive right into this explainer. Today, we're unpacking something absolutely crucial, the complex and honestly, sometimes totally hidden power dynamics inside relationships. We are going to explore the real deal behind age gaps, look at how control can quietly take root, and most importantly, figure out how to actually build genuine, healthy equality. It's like a puzzle, right? So we're going to look at the psychology and sociology behind how control operates and the tools we can use to stop it in its tracks. Here's our roadmap for today. We'll start with a societal debate on age gaps, move into understanding power asymmetries, look at the mechanics of manipulation, shift from control to equality, and finish up with the equality wheel framework.
Starting with Section 1, the age gap debate, societal views and double standards, let's jump in and look at how society views, and man often heavily debates, relationships with big age differences.
If you spend any time on online forums or even reading psychology journals, you'll see people constantly asking the exact same question. Why do these relationships face such intense, polarizing scrutiny from the public? Is it genuine concern, or are there some deep-seated societal biases at play here? Well, defenders of age gaps point out some pretty surprising legal paradoxes. I mean, think about it. An 18-year-old is old enough to go off to war or get married, but they get judged for who they date? They argue there are huge double standards going on, even comparing this scrutiny to how society used to stigmatize interracial and same-sex couples. And they also bring up the whole cougar dynamic. An older woman with a younger man is often kind of celebrated or socially accepted, right? But put an older man with a younger woman, and suddenly there's this really heavy judgment. But on the flip side of that debate, psychology points to something called benevolent sexism. This is essentially the assumption that older men are out there seducing innocent younger women who inherently need society to protect them. And historically, this tracks back to a time before women had equal rights. Even after the 19th Amendment passed in 1920, those protectionist attitudes really lingered, mainly because women still lacked the same workplace and economic survival tools as men. So today, this bias kind of assumes a young man knows exactly what he's doing, but a young woman is somehow just a helpless victim. Moving on to Section 2, understanding power asymmetries. So getting beyond just the raw numbers of an age gap, we really have to look at what is actually going on beneath the surface. Dr. Stimper brilliantly breaks down two major types of power imbalances that can totally dictate how a relationship functions. First, you've got social power asymmetry, which is stuff like having a higher education level or coming from a family with a lot of social standing. And then there's financial power asymmetry. This one is incredibly common, and it really echoes back to a time before the massive expansion of workplace rights in the 1960s and 70s finally started leveling the playing field. When one partner brings in significantly more money or completely controls the shared bank accounts, it undeniably creates a specific dynamic. But hey, here is the absolute crucial point. These asymmetries, they are super common, and they do not automatically make a relationship toxic. Whether there's a gap in life experience, money, or social status, a relationship can absolutely still thrive. The secret sauce is that both partners have to communicate openly and make sure everyone's needs are being respected. Let's look at Section 3, the mechanics of manipulation, because when that open communication breaks down, what maybe started as admiration or a feeling of security can shift into control really fast. Let's look at how that actually happens. Relationship coach Kate London warns about something called adult grooming. It's this manipulative process designed to slowly create a massive power imbalance. And it rarely ever starts with obvious abuse. No, it usually starts with excessive attention, showering you with gifts. But slowly, it twists. It shifts into control, gaslighting, and coercion. And the absolute key tactic they use, isolation. They cut their partner off from family and friends to create total emotional and often financial dependency. This brings us to a really stark emotional realization shared by a woman who actually lived through this exact dynamic. She realized, and I quote, "Now I get that my age was the very thing that made him choose me." What felt like this amazing fairy tale romance was actually just a calculated exploitation of her unequal life experience. Kate London actually shares her own story about an isolating relationship with a boss who was twice her age. She emphasizes that these manipulative dynamics absolutely thrive on secrecy and shame. Her biggest takeaway for us? Speaking your truth is quite literally the only way to shatter that shame and reclaim your power. Which brings us to Section 4, from control to equality. So how exactly do we shift away from these toxic, isolating dynamics, break the cycle of manipulation, and set up healthy boundaries.
Enter a brilliant solution, the equality wheel. This is adapted from the Duluth model, and it perfectly visually contrasts power-centric, abusive relationships with truly healthy ones. Instead of just giving us a list of what not to do, it gives us a real map of what a balanced relationship looks like in practice. And when we achieve this mutual respect, we aren't just creating healthier couples, we're actively building safer, much more stable families and societies for everyone. Notice how it builds here. The inner ring holds the core behaviors of an equal partnership. Then the outer ring protects all of that with vital traits like honesty, trust, and nonviolence. It's basically a complete, thriving ecosystem for a healthy dynamic. Now for Section 5, the Equality Wheel Framework. Let's really break down a few of the specific, actionable components that make up this whole framework for mutual respect. First up is respect and support. This means actively listening without judging, emotionally affirming your partner, and genuinely cheering them on in their independent goals. It literally means valuing their opinions just as highly as you value your own. Next, respecting boundaries. This means advocating for each other's digital and personal space. A massive indicator of equality here is making sure it always feels safe for either person to just say no at any point without facing an argument or any kind of retaliation. And that pairs perfectly with inclusion, trust, and independence. This encourages having healthy space away from each other. It means genuinely supporting your partner having their own distinct hobbies and separate friend groups. You aren't their entire world, and they aren't yours, and that's exactly how it should be. Now, conflicts are going to inevitably arise, right? So negotiation and fairness means seeking mutually satisfying resolutions in a calm, stable environment. It simply means both partners are willing to compromise, and they do it safely. To counter those financial asymmetries we talked about earlier, we have the economic partnership. Building on those hard-won workplace rates of the 20th century, this means transparently supporting each other's career and financial goals. And that holds true regardless of who happens to be bringing in the larger paycheck. Finally, kind and assertive dialogue. This requires using healthy coping strategies, even when you're emotionally escalated. It means always speaking and acting in ways that foster a deep sense of safety, avoiding any name-calling or intimidation entirely. And honestly, the absolute crucial takeaway here is that true relationship equality doesn't demand some perfect, constant 50-50 mathematical balance. Life just doesn't work that way. It ebbs and flows over time based on each person's needs, but it's held together by safe, respectful communication. So I'll leave you with this final thought to apply to your own life. Does your relationship rely on an unsaid, hidden imbalance of power? Or are you actively turning that wheel toward mutual respect and equality? Thanks so much for exploring this explainer with me today. Keep asking questions and keep building healthier connections.